Okay, guys, we're live now and we are recording the Locked On monthly webinar. So thank you for turning up to this hour and 10 minutes we've got together. So to get started, all of you will obviously have your logins, your profiles and everything saved so that you'll access the account. We're not going to spend too much time on the My Details and the account settings. A lot of that's done by the support team. If there's anything you need change that or configuration-wise or adding users or taking users off, always email support@lockedon.com and we'll be able to help you out with our support team there. So we're going to get into, first of all, looking at the clients. Now, over on the left-hand side is the menus of Locked On. So these are all the different database tables that you'll have, and you can click on any of these to go into them. Your dashboard, the main screen, which is the first icon, is going to be a summary of your data. So we're just trying to show you some quick numbers, some quick stats that you would like to see about your account. Just to explain the top part here, where you see a number, a /, what this means for the clients and contacts is that you have 36 clients in your account with 45 contacts. So that means that you have 36 records and some of them have husband and wife. And that's why there's 45 contacts. So a client is a record and a contact is the people that are on that card. Now with the direct and all, if we're looking at the potential sellers area, this is my account and I have 20 direct potential sellers, but I have access to 23. So looking at that, it means that 20 of them are assigned to me as the primary agent, and there's 23 potential sellers that I have access to. Three of them, obviously, I'm not the primary agent on, but I have access to them. That's the same with my buyers as well. So under my name as the primary agent, we have 26, and there is 31 buyers in the session in the whole system. So that explains those numbers, why you see some of these squares, you see 2 of them, and any of these areas you can click on it and it will load that particular data. So if I want to see my 31 active buyers, we can see that pop up in the screen here now. So when we're looking at adding clients to the system, there's a few ways you can do it. I'm going to show you that my preferred method is by going into clients where you see a list of all of your clients, and we then go into the actions and we hit the add client option. So here we can see the side menu opens. This is important. When you're using Locked On, the side screen should have a black line down the side of it. Now, if you don't see the black line, what you can do is use the zoom function. Some of your settings may be like that, where it's not showing you really that black line down the side of the page. If you zoom out a bit, you really want to see this because a lot of the side menus open for you to start adding more data in. So if we go into the actions and we hit add client, this is where we can start to fill in all the details of the new person that we're trying to add in. So if I'm going to put in a new client here, we're going to add my wife, Natalie Newton. We're going to put in an email and we will then add in a mobile number. So we're just adding a fake one there. Now, just to show you with emails and mobiles, when you're adding clients to the system, Locked On is going to duplicate check this. So if I change Nat's email to mine, because we know we're already an existing client, it tells me that the client already exists. Now, there's a whole lot of rules around security. You basically let us know how you want your account set up. You can have agents access that data if they put in the email. You can have them not allowed to put in someone if they're already in the account. Really depends on how you want to run your office, and you would contact support and let them know if there's any changes you need to the security of adding people to the system. So we'll change this back to Nat now, and we can see that there's no match on her name, her email, sorry, and her mobile number. And this allows us then to add a client. Now, if we wanted to add her address, you're able to add the address here. So we can put in here 14 Mallowa Street, Dolls Point, and we can see we get a match. This is a Google Street address, which then loads it in. You don't have to always type it there. You can type directly into the fields below and create that as well. So now that we have her number, email, and an address, we'll hit the add client option. This creates a new record in my Locked On account. Now, if we knew that Natalie had a partner, we can then hit add contact, and this is adding another person onto her card. We won't be doing that for now, so we'll just remove that. I'm going to show you a function in a second to merge her into my account, which is a very cool function of V2. But when you've put a new client into the system, you can hit the edit option and you can add in some more things, such as a nickname. But the main thing I want to show you here is date of birth. So if we're looking at the date of birth, we can go in and select a date of birth here. We'll just go back. I'm going to make something up. We'll go back to for 2009, February 18th, and then we can hit the edit contact option. So now that we've stored her birthday, a new feature of LockedOn is that with all birthdays coming up in the next 30 days, we show you this on the upcoming birthdays here. Also, in something I'll be explaining at the end of the session today, is that we have a trigger which sends an automatic SMS and email to any client that has a birthday in your system at your office opening time. So let's say it's 9:30. Any buyer or any client that has a birthday today will get an SMS and email from you. So that's why I'm showing you to start capture your buyer birthdays and adding them, or sorry, your client birthdays and adding them to their record. So you do that in the information contacts area, you hit edit, and you can then put in their birthday. Now also here, each person has their own contact settings. So if Natalie said, look, don't mail me, don't call me, you can tick those options. When you save that, you do see little icons there that appear on her name here and in the list view. If you want to re-establish contact with her, you can go into the edit, go into the contact settings, and you can turn these back off. If you ever need to add more numbers or emails to her, again, you can edit, go to the phone numbers area, and you might want to add in her work number. So you can do the label work and then add that and then save. Now, when you're adding in a client, just a general rule of thumb is you always work left to right. So starting at left is the summary, which is just giving us a snapshot of her data and all the notes. If I wanted to add a note against a client, I hit actions, and everything I can do on the client card is in the actions button. We then can add a note. So we'll just put in here, demo today in webinar, and we can add that note, which will put the logged in user's name, date and time, and save that note against her. In the information area, one thing I want to touch on here is the general tab, and this is where all of your categories and tagging gets done. We're going to add in the lead source that they came from domain. We're not going to look at potential seller yet, but we can see that she's assigned to me because I added her to the system. Now, depending on if you're a multi-user or not, you can add other people to this card. So let's just say I want Dave to have access to it. And again, this all depends on your security settings in the account. You can invite other agents to see this record. You'll also then have your client tags. And this is where every agency can create their own custom tags that they can apply to people. I'm going to put Nat in my VIP list and update this and save it. If you want to create your own tags, there's no right or wrong answer for tags. It's just what your office uses. You can go into the engine, customizations, and here in the clients group area, you can create any tag you want by hitting the add option at the top right. So now that we've got the add tags done and we've got our client entered in, we can click clients on the left, and to search anyone, it's always best to go into clients and you can type a name, you can type a number, you can type emails or address to get a match of those people in the system. Here we can see I have Natalie. I've added her into the system. We've got her information and tagging set up. So what I want to show you now is that I've realized that Natalie is actually the wife of Luke, and we've got her in the system with all of her tagging. Because I know that Luke's already in the system and I've put Natalie in as a separate record, we do have a function in the actions, merge client, which will allow me to merge Natalie into a primary client, and I'm going to select Luke. This will take all of her data, merge across, and put her now attached as a secondary person on my record. So you can now see that Luke and Natalie are together. In the general section, we have her tags, we'll still have all her notes, and everything is merged across now into one record. So that's a really cool feature that allows you to say, oh, look, this person's actually linked to this person, use the actions and merge them into the other person. So let's start to look at clients from a buyer's perspective now. So we know how to put someone in, we know how to tag them, we know how to add notes. If we look at the main dashboard, we're going to start looking at buyers, and buyers enter your system primarily through inquiries. And if you're uploading to realestate.com a domain and you have your listings on there, LockedOn can capture all of your buyer leads from those portals. If you're not doing this, you can contact support@lockedon.com and ask for it to be set up. So we basically get a feed from REA and domain for all your buyer inquiries, and whenever an inquiry happens, it sits here in the inquiries area. The little orange dot tells me that I've got one to process. If I go to this and I can see it's Luke, I can use this before I call him to tell me if it matches someone in the database, and I can see a match is found. So that's just a quick way for me to flag, oh, look, does Luke already exist? Now, to process an inquiry, you've spoken to them, you know you want to work with them as a client, you hit the process, and you can assign them as a new client by hitting the process option. Now, when we hit the process option, it's duplicate checking based on the email or the number, and it's going to match to an existing client. If there's no existing client, it will create a new record. If you don't want to work with your inquiry, you'll hit archive, and then you can process that, and it will put it in the sort of an archive trash can. But we're going to create this as a new client, and it will then match to my record, which we can see mine's already got all my details. It's got me in as a client, and it will take me to the buyer criteria screen. Because we've processed a buyer, we now need to mark them as an active buyer, and it will then allow us to enter in their buyer criteria. This is one of the most important things with dealing with buyers, to get the best results through all the bulk communication that you're going to be doing with particular buyers. If we go into a buyer criteria and we've loaded it, we can now start to specify they're looking for 2 beds minimum, 1 bath, 1 garage. We can say they're looking for a house, okay, a townhouse. There we have townhouse, or it could be a semi. Oh, what have we got there? A duplex semi. Now we can put in specific suburbs, Dolls Point. If we type that, it's searching our Google suburbs database, and you can type in as many as you want there. Basically, the main thing you want is a price. So we're going to say they're looking up to 3 million. We then hit the update buyer criteria. Now, based on this criteria, if we click here to view our matching properties, we can see that I'm not matching any because my criteria is too specific. At the moment, we would tell this buyer, look, you have no matching properties on our database for you. If we go back to the information buyer criteria, what we're then able to do is edit the criteria that we have against them by removing the house, duplex, townhouse, and the suburb. We can then hit the update, go back into the matching criteria, and we can see there's 6 matching properties. So this is basically saying with the price range of 3 million, we have 6 properties that match you. Looking at these, we can see they're all houses at the moment, and they're mainly all in Dolls Point. Again, if we go into the information, buyer criteria, the more you put in, the more specific it will be. So in the suburbs, we'll type in there Dolls Point again. We will then hit update. See our matches. I'm not sure why. Listing matches. There we go. We can see the 4. So we have 4 matching properties there. One of the new features with LockedOn version 2 is that your buyer may specify to you in the buyer criteria that they're looking for houses in Dolls Point for 3 million to spend. This would make it hard for you to actually say, well, look, we also want an investment unit. If they were looking for another specific criteria range, you can add another buyer criteria. So here we can then see the first one's filled in, and we can just call this house because we know that's what they're looking for, and update that. We can give them labels. And the next one we're going to call is unit. Now, the reason we're doing a separate one is because the unit, we're going to put apartment or unit here. Their price point for this is going to be a lot different to the house. So they say, we want an investment unit at around 1 million. And then we can hit update. By then going to the buyer match area, we can see they match 5. So we have the 4 in Dolls Point and the apartment in Sandringham. You can have as many buyer criteria as you want against a buyer. So they may say to you, look, we're looking for land at this price. We're looking for unit investment at this price, and we're looking for a house at this price. If you then go back into the information buyer criteria, you can see that there's 2 there. If your buyer suddenly says we're no longer looking, or we don't want a unit, if they're no longer looking, you can turn off the buyer active, which means none of these will match and they won't get any alerts. Or if they said to you, look, the unit one, we don't want that anymore, you can just turn off the unit one. But if they said, oh, look, we're no longer looking for a unit, you can basically just delete that off the buyer criteria and keep the house one there. So when you have a buyer enter the system and you get a list of the properties that match them, we want to send that to them. And I like calling this our first initial contact and first impressions. So as we meet a buyer, we use the send option and we say email. Using the send email in LockedOn, you'll have a whole lot of preset templates. When you've installed the Orange Shiner pack, you'll see a template called buyer match. This will then load your logo, matching properties, and a nice message. Here is a list of all the properties that match your criteria. For more information, please contact me. You then see a list of the 4 properties that match them. You can change the message to them or your subject, and then you can use the send option and send that email to your client, or you can use send later, which is a new feature of version 2, which allows you to delay sending. If I wanted to send this message today, which is the 4th of the 3rd, it's 2:15 now, I might change this to 18. So I want it to go in 3 minutes. I can then hit send email, and that email will be sent to my buyer in 3 minutes. Now you can say send now, it sends it instantly, but I just want to show you the power of the delayed option. We'll see that hit my inbox soon, and we'll look at that shortly. So we've contacted the buyer now with all the properties that match their criteria. We processed an inquiry from Luke, and this is where it takes us into the activity. There is 4 levels of interest that you'll have with buyers. This is where we start to look at what they've inquired on, what they've inspected, contracts they've requested, and offers they've submitted. Now, inquiries come from REA Domain. They get automatically attached here. In the inspections area, you can be manually adding inspections, or you can be adding inspections from HomePass, which is the official home open app of LockedOn. We set you up with a free HomePass account. You add buyers at your home opens, and it syncs directly into here. Now, if I add an inspection for Luke, so we know he inquired on 8 Skinners. Let's say he inspected that later today. So I go to Actions, Add Inspection. I called him back, and 8 Skinners. We're now going to book in for today at 4 p.m. an appointment, which is going to go for 30 minutes. I won't fill in any feedback yet because we haven't been, but we can add that inspection. It then will ask me if I want to download and put this into my calendar. Depending on what calendar you use, you'll select the download option. Now that you have the inspection added, it will show up in your calendar. In the calendar, you can see I have an inspection at 4 to 4:30 here for this client, and we can go back to them. When you've finished your inspection, you'll then go into the activity, inspections, and you'll take the feedback. By hitting the edit option, we can now say, okay, well, out of 10 stars, what did they rate it? Where did they find out about it? What was their price guide? To $750. And we can put in private notes. So Luke drives a BMW, and the vendor notes is what goes to our vendor on the report. Looks interested, but will follow up tomorrow. And we hit edit, and we see both of those notes added, and it's saved. Now, if Luke came back to us and said, look, I want a contract on that property because I'm interested in bidding at that at auction or showing my solicitor, we can go into the contracts area, we can go actions, and we can add a contract. We then select 8 Skinners. We select the date that he requested that, and we put in any notes. Is keen. And then we can hit add. Again, this shows on your vendor reports. In the offers section, if Luke did make a formal offer, we need to record that against him and the property. So we go actions, add offer, and I called him up the next day. He said that he'd like to make an offer. We're just forwarding this of 700. And we can tick if that's accepted. Offer notes, first offer, and we can hit add. So what we've basically done here is with one buyer, we've worked through an inquiry to an inspection to a contract to an offer. Now, this all generally doesn't happen on the same day. Sometimes it can, but Luke can make multiple inquiries on multiple different properties. He can inspect multiple properties before he makes an offer or request contracts. You can add as many of them to him as you want by using the actions and the add options you have here. But this leads us into working a buyer that is very, very keen. How do you follow them up? When you have a client record in your account, you use the actions create task. And this is the way we train to communicate with buyers. Now, you'll all have your own qualifications around whether buyers are hot, warm, or cold. Every agent's different. Let's say Luke's a hot buyer, and in my world, a hot buyer, I know his finance ready to go, and I need to call them at least once a week to make sure that we're seeing what they're looking at or letting them know of any new listings. When I use the actions create task option, we're going to select the phone call. Now, the task to be completed by, I'm going to say the 11th. To repeat this task how often, if we leave it at 0, it's just a one-off phone call. And in the task notes, we're going to put hot buyer call is ready to buy. Now, this is just a one-off phone call, but the power in LockedOn is that you can do some repeating calls, and this is how you should work buyers. I'm going to say I want to repeat this task every 1 week. I don't want to do it forever, but with a hot buyer, I want to do this for 2 months. I'm going to say 8 weeks. I then add this task, and against Luke, what we'll see in the task area is this repeating phone call that goes every week 8 times. Now, every time I do this call, it will go down. It will tell me you've got 7 calls left, 6 calls left. So if I look at my tasks and it tells me what I have on for the 11th, we can see we have a phone call for Luke and Natalie due in there on the 11th. Don't worry about the due in 7 days. We then hit the complete option and it gives me all their details, their tags, any notes, and their past notes here. I can then call my client and I might just say left message. Now I know this is a repeating call with 8 times left. So I'm going to call them again in another week and I can hit complete. Now that that has been completed, if we look back at Luke and Natalie, we'll be able to go into their record. We can see in the summary now, we've had the offer, the inspection, we've got the phone calls all in there. And if we go into the tasks, when the system picks up that that's a repeating task, it'll have the completed one in here. And in the task area, probably takes a minute or so, it knows to reactivate the next call on that particular person. So we'll come back to that and have a look at it. But the repeating option, as soon as you complete a task that has repeating options on it, it will then reload into the task and tell you when the next one is due. So now that we've put a buyer into the system, we've tracked their activity and we've got a phone call set against them. There's my phone call there now, and it tells me it's 7 times. Let's look at the just listed side of a property. If we go into my listing, which was 8 Skinners that we've been using, we'll be able to see a list of all the buyers that match it. Now, whenever you put a listing in, you're putting the price in and all the photos and marketing. And here we have a list of all the buyers that this property is in its price range and the specifics match what they're looking for. My buyer database is small, but imagine you have 600. Doesn't matter whether you have 600 or 60, these steps are still the same. We're going to communicate with these buyers. What we want to do is send them an email first or an SMS. The property's live, we can hit send, email. In our templates, you can use the just listed, which will then load all of the photos, your branding, and put the agent's details on that particular email. So this is going to 7 people. We can add any attachments. We can confirm it's going to 7. We can send now or send later. If I hit the send email option, that would send it off to the 7 people. Now that's doing an email. If you want to do an SMS, you can say send SMS, and you can then pick a template, which might be hot new listing. Okay, you can update the preview to see what this merge is like. And we can then send that off to the 6 people that have a mobile using the same functions, send now or send later. So there's a few ways that you can launch a property. If we're looking at this 6 matching clients, and I always like to look at my buyers of who's most recent in my account and then call those people, we can say a start date of the 1st of February. And I want to see how many clients have come into my database and be turned as an active buyer from the 1st of February. I only have 1 because Luke's the one we're looking at now, but pretend your database has 600 buyers and you want to now call your newest buyers about a new listing that matches them. You find a start date of last month, which gives you kind of the last 4 weeks. It brings up a list of 10 buyers. You can then use actions, create hit list, and you can call through these buyers by going into the view summary, looking at this buyer, calling them, and then going to the next button, which you don't see that now, but there is a next one to go to the next buyer, the next buyer, the next buyer. You call through them all, making LockedOn a telemarketing machine pretty much, and then you close that hit list. And you've just now called all of your hottest buyers really that are the newest ones on your account that match this property. So there's quite a few different ways that you can really be effective with launching a property. So when we've launched this property, we then want to look at the open home, the actual email. And this is going to give you some really good stats on who you should be calling again. And we like to generally leave it 24, 48 hours before you do this. But if we look at the reports area and go into emails, what you see here is that I've sent an email about 8 Skinners prior to this, obviously, and we can hit the details and it's telling me that 12 people opened it, Okay, it was sent to 13 people. So this is obviously me testing with people I know. 92% open rates, had 10 clicks. Every just listed you do, you should be using your email stats to your advantage. What I mean by that is if you're sending out to 600 people and 60 people click on that, there's 60 immediate hot self-qualified buyers that you should be calling. Generally leave your email in between 24, 48 hours and then look at your email reports. You can see here the top 5 links. Now, this is the real estate link on the email alert that says view more. So they get your email, they open it, and they view more, and I can see it's had 11 clicks. If I click on that, it shows me the 10 unique people that clicked on it. Again, using our function called actions, create hit list, I can load the 10 people that clicked on it. I can then go to view summary on the first, and I can call through these 10 people one by one, inviting them to the first open home or telling them they need to be the first person to inspect it. This is where you get high conversion on people that have self-qualified so that you're not just calling random buyers, you're calling people you know that have got the email and opened it, and it gives you way higher conversions on your phone calls and way better time spent, or your time spent a lot more effectively. So try and implement that into your business. Send your just listed and give it 24, 48 hours and use your email stats to your advantage. Now, on an email, when you have on the property, that we're going to go back to 8 Skinners, there's effective ways with dealing with buyers throughout the campaign, and that's on the activity area. Now, this particular property, 8 Skinners, had 4 inquiries, 3 inspections, 2 contracts, and 2 offers. If this property was going to auction, if the property had just sold, if we had a price reduction, or if we listed one in the street before, I always believe that you should be SMSing these group of people about that particular action that's happened on the property. SMS is fast, effective, 99% open rate. And when you're using it to small targeted lists, it's very, very effective. So if I look at the inquiries, and I know there's been a price change or adjustment on this, I might say, let's go to the send option on my inquiries, and I'm going to send an SMS. Now, it gives me all the 4 inquiries with the mobile number, but I also say, look, I want to send it to anyone who's inspected it, anyone who's got contracts, or anyone who's got offers. It's all the same people. There's 1 extra person there, 5. Now, I can look at my template heading, and I can pick in here price reduction. So if we look at the listing price reduction template and we update the preview, it's a nice template telling the buyers that the price has been reduced, the owner's telling us to sell, we're presenting all offers tonight. And we can send that off to all the buyers who have had any interest in this and get instant replies. Again, using the other 3 examples we said, if you have an auction coming up, you can target an SMS saying auction tomorrow, we look forward to seeing you. If you sell the property, you should be coming to this list and sending an SMS to all the buyers who inspected it or had any interest in it. And if you list another one that's similar, well, then here's a great list of buyers to communicate with about another listing in this street. So SMS is very effective and powerful when you're going to be targeting particular people on a property. If we look at the final thing with buyers, and that's all around the weekly open home, and this is just something we like to ingrain into all users, is that it should be consistent in your business that you're sending off a weekly open home to all your buyers every week. So they know what's coming up and what's open. And if they're not getting your just listeds, it's another way to advertise new listings as well. In the engine area, it's a template you need to build, and we're going to look at how we build a template now with using some of our widgets. In the templates area, we're going to select add, and I'm going to give it a label, call it our buyer weekly open home alert. We then hit the add template option. The first thing you do when you're building a template is you generally give it a subject, so we don't have to retype it all the time. So we're going to put open homes this weekend. You have 9 different components. There's a full YouTube movie on how these all work. I'm going to go through them, kind of not explaining how they all work, but putting them together. If we look at the header, that will put your logo and a nice keyword at the top right. We can put in here, open homes this weekend here as well. We then can drop in a paragraph widget, which then allows us to create some text. And this may be a message to the buyer. So we type hi, we can add personalization, and we can type in the recipient name. We then can hold shift on our keyboard and to enter and type our message. Here is a list of all our opens. We look forward to seeing you there. Okay, basic message, you can create whatever you want in there. Now, to get a list of all of our opens, we use the property card, which puts a list of properties together from our database. It will default to the for sale layout, but I want to use the open home layout. If we look at the properties it's grabbing, it will default to the properties for sale, but I want to grab the properties with open homes in the next 7 days. Now that I've got the properties layout, the open home and the open homes in the next 7 days, I can change the header from open home to open homes this weekend. Save this, and we now have a basic email with a header, our logos, a message, and our open homes. We can then save and close this. Now, if I go to send this to all of my clients, on the dashboard area, we then go into all our buyers, hitting the 31. We can then hit the send option, email, and we can use our template. So I have 31 email addresses that you can see there. We have the buyer weekly open home alert. It's now grabbing all of the opens I have, which I thought I had one set up, but I don't. So before we do that, I'll just go into a property. We'll do our 8 skinners that we've been using. In the marketing section, in the opens, I do, but it's past. It was at 9 in the morning, my fault. So let's do another one for today at 5 p.m. and that's going to last for 30 minutes and we'll add that in. Okay, so I have one open home. If we go to the main screen and we select all our buyers 31, we then hit send email and we are then going to choose our buyer weekly open home alert. It loads in the open homes this weekend with our message, with our signature, and all I then need to do is confirm it's going to 31 people and send that off. If there was 10 opens, they would all be listed here. So you get the picture there. The template is now set up that every week, whether it's a Wednesday or Thursday, after I've got my opens set up in the system, I just go to my buyers, I load this template and I send. And I only ever need that one template in the system to be able to effectively communicate that out to all of my buyers. Okay, so session 2 is looking at a person who has a property to sell. And realistically in LockedOn, this is where you make all the money. In real estate, when you meet someone who has a property to sell, we want to make sure we database them, we have nice clean records, we know what property they own, and we want to take them through the property life cycle. On the main screen of LockedOn, you have potential sellers. And to be frank, this is really what I look at in any database is how valuable your system is. When I log into an account and I see they've got 200 or 300 or 400 potential sellers, you start to think, okay, well, this is a good database. Ideally, we'd like, every individual agent to see anywhere between 700 to 800 potential sellers. Like that's kind of a big goal that we should be trying to reach. But the potential sellers means that you know them, they know you, they have a property to sell in your area. So that could be someone you've met through prospecting. It could be an appraisal. It could be someone you've sold to, but the potential sellers is pretty much your future business. So if I go into the clients and I look at my record, Luke and Natalie, we open this up and we go to the information. You can see that I'm already ticked as a potential seller. This is a really important flag. This basically identifies this client or these people, Luke and Nat, that they have property in the area that they may sell one day or they've purchased off me. When you turn that on and you save it, it then adds this number to it, which I was already on there, so it's not going to go up. But if I put a new person in, it would go to 21. If you're on the dashboard and you've changed a new buyer or you've put a new potential seller in, you just need to hit the refresh option, which recalculates your stats. And then it tells you it's current if the refresh option isn't there. So going into the 20 that we have, I can scroll down the list. I should be in there under my name. Yep, Luke and Natalie. And we're going to use my record throughout this process. So when you know someone is a potential seller, first step, tick this and save. Second step is in the properties, the vendor area, we can see how many properties we already have attached to them. So I know that I've already got a property listed for Luke and Nat and a property that's pending exchange or unconditional. If they told me, or if I built a really good relationship with them, they said, look, we own another property in Skinner's Avenue that we would like to sell, I can then go into the actions and I can link a property to them. I can link as many properties to someone as I want. Whether the person's got 0 properties or 10 properties and they tell you they've got one more property they own in the area, you always say actions link. So the important thing to take away from this is that you always start with your client record. putting the record into the system, getting all their contact details, categories right, and ticking them as potential, and then adding the property. So we link the property to them, and we can create a new one. Now, this just loads in their postal address just as a quick sort of, hopefully they have that property to sell. But if they don't, we might make up an address here. We're going to say 16 Malua Street, and that's going to be in Dulles Point. And we're going to say that it's a house. We then hit the add property option. This creates the property record. Now, today's not about data entry. Every field has different things you can put into it and what you can save and do. But the basics is when you put a property in, we do want to know the beds, bath and car, and if you know the last sold price and sold date. So you can just see we'll put 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom and 1 car here. Last sold price might be for 500, and we can put that last sold date back in. Let's go back to 2009, October the 7th. Then we can save that. That's generally what you want to try and do when you meet a new property that someone owns. Get that basic information. So now that we've got that basic information captured, let's look at this. Over on the right here, we have the photo, if you've got one, who it's assigned to, the vendor's details, vendors listed up, purchaser, and sellers, purchasers listed up. When you need to add those, you can click those buttons. But this button here, update status, is really important about what we're going to talk about through the property life cycle. Whether you're selling property in Australia or New Zealand, it's the same 5 stages. The main 5 stages is potential, is someone you know that owns property in your area. Whether you prospect to meet that lead, whether you have purchased a property off you, they're at the potential stage because you haven't been invited back in to appraise the property. So if Luke and Natalie are potential, my end result is that I build a relationship and I get to an appraisal. And the way that we do that is by using DNA plans and follow-up and letters and SMS and regular communication and some of our bulk marketing. I'm going to be showing you the DNA plans in a second that will really help you move through these stages. But if we get to an appraisal, we then either going to lose that appraisal or we're going to win it. So if it's a lost appraisal, we change it to that. If it's a listing, we put it onto the listed option. Now, from a listing, we hopefully market it well. We get a lot of buyers that we've already worked through today, and we sell the property successfully, and then it goes to exchanged or unconditional, depending on where you are. And the final step is that we nurture that through the exchange process to settlement, and on the day it settles, we then transfer the ownership to the purchaser, and we set our lifelong anniversary plans. So let's go back to the start. Potential is where Luke and Natalie sit right now. As I mentioned before, with LockedOn, you get the full Aaron Shiner DNA packs, which gives you all of his follow-up plans, all of his SMSs, all of his emails. These have all been reinvented and redone for the tools that we have in LockedOn version 2. Let's just have a quick look at these. In the engine, in the DNA, this is where you'll see all the DNA plans that come with your account. They're all in number order. The first one is the potential appraisal, and we're going to hit the edit option. Here are some big things that are really, really powerful inside the DNA plans that you may not know or you may not have turned on yet, but every email or SMS we can send automatically. And that's where you really want your business to get, is that we have great templates that we don't even have to check anymore, that just get sent automatically. So the first one is a potential nice to meet you SMS. If we hit the edit option and we can see the template it's using, we can automate that. And we can save that action, and then it will update, and we'll see a little automated symbol on this particular task inside the DNA plan. Everyone that's purple or green, which is an SMS or email, you can see there's the automated option. You're able to edit and turn on automation. Now, there may be some emails or SMSs you don't want to automate. You want to actually read them or change them, and the text has to change based on each person. So it's not something that we turn on by default, but every person can go through the DNA plans we give you and automate any email or SMS by hitting that option and hitting save. So inside the DNA plan, this one for a new potential lead, it's got an SMS immediately that's going to send. It's got a task for us to get an intro pack ready. One day after, it has a conditional which says, does my vendor have a valid email? If they do, then send an email automatically. If not, send a letter. So that's a new, really cool, powerful tool along with the automation, is the conditional options you have. It then goes into a phone call 19 days later. We have an SMS that I haven't automated. We have an email in 71 days or a letter, depending on if they have an email or not. And at the bottom, and this is what I want to show you, is these that we put on every DNA plan, which is the repeat forever. Now, with every appraisal, potential, anniversary plan, they always have repeating tasks that never end. What this means is that any lead you meet and you put into the system correctly on a DNA plan, you will never, ever lose contact with. This phone call in the timing says that it's from the start date. We want this to repeat every year, and the offset is to start 1 year after we set the plan, and it's going to repeat forever. In your appraisal plan, it has an SMS that repeats every year, which says, thank you for appraisal. It's been a year since we appraised your home. It's been 2 years since we appraised your home, 3 years since we appraised your home. In the anniversary plans, it has emails and SMSs that send to your vendor saying, congratulations, it's been 1 year since you purchased, 2 years since you purchased, 3 years since you purchased. They last forever. So all of our plans are very, very advanced and up to date with some beautiful templates. But the automation is something that you can turn on. Now, with this plan that we've looked at, I've turned on the automatic SMS, and 1 day after, we've got an automated email. If we go into my appraisal plan, which is the second one here, we'll let this load, we can see some actions that will actually happen when we do an appraisal. So I'm going to run you through the first 2 plans, which is a potential and appraisal today. Obviously, each other plan goes with each stage, and I will show that in the demo, but we won't set them. So here's my appraisal one, which says send an SMS, thank you for the appraisal. It's straight after we do it, and we can hit the automate and we'll save. It then sends a testimonial email, which is a nice email, which we get you to put your testimonials into, and we'll automate that. Now, I'm not going to automate anything else, but I want to automate these 2 because they're immediate, so you can see how the system works and sends them. But there's a whole lot of other things inside this which are really powerful, which I talked about, the reoccurring SMS and the reoccurring phone call, so you never lose contact with any lead. So let's now go back into my record. We'll open that up, and we will see in the properties, my new property we added, 16 Malua. The property is a potential. We found out they've got a new property. They haven't asked us to appraise it yet. So we're going to say actions, apply DNA. Here we can see all the DNA plans. We select potential appraisal. We hit apply. This loads in all of the actions for me to give myself the best chance to get to an appraisal. In the tasks area, we can see the appraisal sent offers intro is due a few seconds ago, which will show in my task. But if we go to the completed, look at that. The SMS has already been completed. And if I go into the summary, we can see SMS sent. I've turned my phone off so it doesn't ring, but that would have been sent through to my phone from the agent, Luke Newton, saying it was nice meeting you today, looking forward to potentially helping you with your real estate needs. In the tasks area, we have the potential appraisal assessment of equity. If I go into my tasks, that is due for tomorrow, so I'm going to change that. And we can see it in my list there. In the automated tab, it tells me what's due tomorrow that's automated. This would automatically go to complete. It would then load this template and it would send it off to your vendor. Okay, same time tomorrow, this email would go out to them automatically. They reply, it comes back to your inbox. That's the power of automation through SMS and email. Extremely, extremely powerful when you're ready to advance your business to that level and use our templates, just need to turn that button on. Now, if we go back to my property, and we've been following up our client, and let's just look at the tasks. So we can just, I'm just going to manually complete some of these. So we just hit the edit task option, and we can say update. Oops, sorry, we can hit the complete option there. Okay, we've completed that. We can complete that task. This one we can say manually complete. We just put in a note, sent. I just don't want to send them, so we hit the send option. That phone call we can complete. We've been ringing the client, keeping in contact with them, trying to get an appraisal, and they call us up and they say, look, that property in 16 Malua, yeah, we'd love for you to come and appraise it. So you look up the address or you look up your client, but the most important thing is that we change the status. It's no longer potential, it's appraised, and we update it. This is where in the life cycle, we now start the actual property life cycle. So it's no longer potential, it's getting into the sale process now. So we've appraised it, we then list it, we then sell it. So in the appraisal, we can set a date and time. So we'll say that was today at 9 a.m. for 1 hour. We can put in their price. They want to get 800. Okay, we reckon it's worth 780 to 810. And we can then put in our estimated commission is 2%, and it works out your estimated price there and any notes, and you can save that. So now that we've got the appraisal entered in the task area, you need to kill the current plan that you have on there. To do that, you can use the select all. If you have more than one plan on there, you can filter to your potential appraisals. I'll just clear that selection. So we filter to that and we can select all, and then we can delete the tasks that are there. We don't need those tasks anymore, which we're to do to get the appraisal, but we've already done the appraisal and we've entered this in. So now it's time to set the next plan, which in the actions is apply plan, and this will be our appraisal. When I hit the apply option, it's using the appraisal date and time. It's setting a whole lot of tasks which have an SMS and an email. There's my testimonials video. That will be automatically sent in a second. In the completed option, we have my appraisal straight after SMS sent. In the summary, we can see that the testimonials video is now sent. The SMS is now sent. If we look at my inbox here, we'll just refresh that. Well, there's my matching properties one. So that we put a delay on it. That's now hit the inbox. So we'll go back into the inbox. There's the testimonials one. I didn't even have to hit send, and that's now turned up in your vendor's inbox. And my phone now has that SMS. I haven't built the testimonials here. We just put them there for you to put in there, but that's the power of the automation. What my clients have to say, re your property. Hey, it was great meeting you. Here's the testimonials. Automation, extremely, extremely powerful. Now, the rest of the follow-up plan has great letters, emails, phone calls in it. With any letter that pops up, you'll see that appear in your tasks. You'll have a complete button, which then will merge the letter, all pre-written, all ready to go into window-faced envelopes. It will then get it ready to send. It will merge it and give you a download option there. So I'll just wait for this one to come along. It will then put it into Microsoft Word. You'll then be able to download that, save it, and print your letters in your office yourself, or make any changes to that file. So we'll just open this one just to show you it's merged to my postal address, which was 14 Malua, but it's referencing 16 Malua. Okay, thank you for taking the time to meet with me about this. We print the letter on our letterhead and we send that off. So everything's done for you, the letters, the phone calls, the automation, if you want to use that. So if we go back into the completed task for today, we want to go into 16 Malua, and we're back at our property. Now, from the appraisal point of view, as I mentioned before, you're going to go through the stages now. So if you lose that appraisal in the task area, you want to find your appraisal plan, select all, and you want to delete those from this particular property. And then in the actions, you would apply a plan, which is your lost appraisal. You would update the status to lost appraisal. Now, we're hoping that you win all your appraisals with all the plans we give you. So that would be in the status, you would update the status to listed, and you then have a listing in the system that you're going to add all the photos and marketing. If we look at one I've already set up, and we're going to go back to my test, which is 8 Skinners, this is what a listing looks like. You will have all the information filled in. You'll have your land details filled in, and you'll have any additional features ticked because these upload to your portals. You can upload all the documents for your property into the documents area, and you should be doing this because in some email templates, you can pull certain documents into them. In the life cycle area, you'll have your appraisal because you appraised the property, but now you've listed it, you want to fill in the listing information, which is pricing, who listed it, contract received dates, when it's getting launched. In the marketing, you then have the details to write your heading, your summary, and in the images, you put your photos and your floor plan. You set your opens up, and in the portals area, if you're using LockedOn to upload, you turn on the portals you want. I'll just turn these off and just say, look, I want it to go on realestate.com. And we have 3 portals it's going to, and I can hit the upload option to send that through to those sites and make it live. Now, remember before in the buyer session, I taught you how to use buyer match and how to do your just listed to communicate with those buyers. But now the property's live. If we look at the activity, we start to get buyers inquiring. We start to get inspections happening. Hopefully we get contracts and offers submitted. You then need to be reporting to your vendor using our vendor reports. Now in the activity area, when you have a listing, you can go into the vendor report area. We have 3 different ways you can do vendor reports. 1 is by doing a PDF that you print, you go and sit with them. 2 is an email that gets emailed to them with the PDFs and attachment. And 3 is the vendor portal. We have videos on these in all of our YouTube channel that go into more details on how you work those particular ones. But if we're setting up a vendor report, I'm just going to remove some of these, just so we've got the one there. you'll go into the actions and you will hit the add vendor report and you'll specify the dates for it. So I'm saying I do it every Wednesday and it goes from Wednesday to Wednesday. That's the date range I do. I then fill in my summary, inspection summary, report summary, and I have a few different options that I can use when creating the PDF. If we look at the one that I've already set up, this is going from way back since I've been using this property. So the 19th to the 11th, 2017. And we'll put that up until today's date. Okay, let's get to 2020. March the 4th. I'll just pretend it's a week. I'm just doing a big date range here so you can see everything. So we've got a big date range. I've put in my summary, inspection summary, report summary, and we can hit edit. Now to get the PDF of this, I can then see that it's saved and I can download. This will give me a nice PDF document of my vendor report that I go and print, sit down with them weekly, and we go over their campaign. How long has it been on the market? Open homes to date, inspections, inquiries, contracts, and offers. Break it down by lead source for inquiries, inspection notes, all the inspections that happen, contracts, offers, and it's got some marketing campaigns and payments on there as well. Now that's the print option. If you want to email it, you can then hit the email report, which will use our standard vendor report template. It will put a photo of their property. Looks really nice actually. It has a whole lot of data merge tags here that it's merging into the actual email to give them a nice summary of their property. And it says, please see attached your report. And in the attachments is the report PDF. And you can hit the send now to send that off to all your vendors. Now the final one, which is by far the most powerful, which is getting the best response from all our clients, is the vendor portal. Now, if you want your vendor to have access to their reporting on their property 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you turn on the show on vendor portal option here. When that's on, it means they have access, but for them to get access, you have to invite them to vendorportal.com.au. And that's by going to your vendors, going into their client cards, and you use the drop-down option, invite to vendor portal. As long as they have an email and you hit send invite, it sends an invite off to your vendor with an email saying you've been invited to join vendorportal.com, vendor portal, and they then need to set a password. Now, when they put their password in, it logs them into a screen which shows them their vendor report. Now, if we go back into the properties and we look at 8 Skinners, as an agent, you can go into activity, vendor reports, and you can see what the vendor portal will look like for this property by hitting preview vendor portal. So this is exactly what your vendor will see when they log in. So we'll let this load and we'll see the vendor portal for this particular property. We have their photo grayscaled at the top. We have all the stats on the main 4 areas. We have your summary, inspection summary and activity summary. We show all the inquiries, inspections, contracts, and offers. And we can see here we have the marketing, all the photos, and at the bottom we have any documents that we've put against their property that we want them to see. We show them what portals it's on and their upcoming opens and the ability to contact us as agents. Now, whenever the vendor accesses that portal, we can send an email alert to the listing agent letting them know the vendor's online. You need to go to your My Details, into the settings, and you just need to turn on the alerts and notification vendor portal accessed. So that means that you will get an email sent to you saying, hey, your vendor, Luke and Natalie Newton, just logged into their vendor portal to see what's happening. Really, really powerful if you've got a vendor that's logging in at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and you should get up in the morning and call them first thing, since you know they've been trying to access some data there. So if we go back into the property and we look at 8 Skinners again, you can see there's some quite nice ways to keep weekly communication up with your vendor. Now, when the property gets to a stage that it's gone on to offer, we can see that in the life cycle listing, we have the under offer button. We can turn that on. When you turn that on, it flags the property as under offer. You can see these little orange under offer options there. So that means that, obviously there's an offer on the property and it's pending sale. When you have the property under offer, that's where in the life cycle, in the sales advice, you start to fill in all of the sales details. As I said, guys, we're not going to go through all of the options here that you would set in all the fields. It's pretty basic when you get a sale: exchange date, sold date, who sold it. But over on the right is where you start to add all the parties. So in the purchaser area, I've added Dave Hammond and I've added his solicitor. Okay, so those buttons, if you don't have them added, you just click it and you add them and then they're saved there. So you can see all the parties now involved in this sale. The property was listed, and in the listing stage, I didn't show you this, sorry, but when the property's listed, you have DNA plans to set, which are your listing new to market and your listing vendor communication. When it gets to the exchange stage, you update the status. In the tasks area, before you set anything, you want to make sure that you've cleared whatever plans are in there. And we then can go to the actions, apply DNA, and you can use our exchange settlement vendor, exchange to settlement purchaser. And what this will do is keep your listing agent in contact with their vendor and their purchaser from the exchange date to the settlement date. It sends all your congratulations of sales letters, what happens next, getting your home ready to move. And on the purchaser, it has all the communication for the selling agent and the communication with their purchaser. So at this particular point is where the property goes exchange, you get the call from the solicitor, you set these two plans. When you've set both of those plans, you'll see all the tasks appearing that need to be done. And we're then nurturing the sale from exchange to settlement. Now, on the day that settlement happens, generally they call the admin or the listing agent and they tell you, look, the property's now settled. They're going to come pick up the keys. Congratulations, it's all done. What you should be happening then, it's probably an email from your solicitor telling you it's all done. You'll go into the property and you will update the status to settle. So we now know the property is officially sold. We can hand over the keys. In the life cycle sales advice, we make sure that everything's correct here. I'm going to update the settlement date just to be today's date in 2020. So we can see this plan work. So the March the 4th, and today was the settlement, and we're going to update that. Now, we settled the property today. We got the email from the solicitor. This is the final stage of LockedOn and the most powerful. You want to transfer the property to Dave, who is the new owner. So you hit the transfer property option. You then go through a sequence of events of answering certain questions about your seller and your purchaser, and then you hit transfer. So at the top, we have remove all uncompleted items against your seller. Yes, we want to do that, and assign a new DNA plan. Now with the DNA plans we give you, we have a 6.1 settled vendor. This is very basic. For anyone we sell a property to, we give an SMS or a phone call every year on the settlement date just to see how they're traveling. If you don't want to do that, you don't want to communicate with your vendor, you just turn that off. But let's do it for now. We have his postal address as 56 Malua. If they're not moving, like this was an investment you were selling, you don't need to update it. But if the owner was moving out of that property, you need to get their new postal address and update it there. And then you can add any client tags you want to your seller. So if someone was selling with us, we might then say that every seller becomes a VIP. We then go to the purchaser sections and it says create a property assigned to the purchaser. So it's going to copy this property and attach it as a potential. What plan do you want to assign to them? It's going to be the 6.2 if they're a live-in or 6.3 if they're an investor. We're going to say they're a live-in purchaser. We're going to also put them in the VIP list. And will they remain as an active buyer? We're going to say no, Dave has found his dream home. And do we want to update their postal address to be this property? We're going to say yes. At the end, we hit transfer. The system will now go through and do each item on the checklist, put a tick in it as it happens. And at the end, we'll get a congratulations, your property is now transferred. Okay, so here we can see the transfer complete, congratulations. Go to the new property. If we look at this property, it's now a potential. Hopefully by now you've picked up, we're back at the start of the property life cycle. Dave is now someone we know in the system who owns a property. We have not been invited to appraise his home yet because he only just purchased it, but he is a potential. In his task, we have a really rock solid anniversary plan set against him. Whole lot of communication over the first 2 years, and then every year from there on, it has repeating anniversary SMS and repeating anniversary email. So we will never lose contact with any single person we sold a property for, and these would be automated. If we then go back to our seller and we look at Luke Newton and we look at his properties in the property section, we can see that 8 Skinners is now settled. We sold it for this on that. And if we go into that, this is a full history of the sale. It has all the buyers linked to it, all the notes. We can see they were the vendor, who the purchaser was, but we never delete a settled record that has all the sales information on it. If you now search for the property in your properties area, and we search for 8 Skinners, you now see the property is in the database twice, as it should be. One is a settled record that is now sold. You never touch this record. It has the old owner. It has all the details of that sale. Think of it as a folder you now put in a filing cabinet. It has all the sales history. The potential is the one that you will be bulk communicating with, building a relationship with, trying to sell again when the time comes. And that's the whole property life cycle, going from a potential through to an appraisal, through to a listing, through to an exchange, through to a settlement, and how all the plans get used in LockedOn, and why the tasks are such a big part of any agent's success. If you start using our plans, our ultimate goal for you is that you build enough clients and properties in the database to see 25 to 30 connections a day. Now, we don't mean that all of them have to be phone calls, but 25 to 30 connections a day. If you get really good at your templates and automation, 15 of them could be done for you every day. And then there's only 15 calls. But they're the key numbers that, top performing agents are hitting quite consistently, anywhere over 30 connections a day to a warm to hot database. If you can get halfway to that, we're talking about agents that are writing, 2 million, 1.5 million. If you can get like halfway, you start writing some good numbers. You only have to be having really good communication with 15 to 20 people a day from your database to see amazing results. But you won't get there if you don't have plans, you don't have systems, you don't have templates. Using our stuff will allow you to advance very, very quickly. You can see that by how much work's gone into it and what Aaron's done with building all of those templates. So guys, I want to thank you for being on the LockedOn webinar today. There was one thing that I wanted to sort of show you, which is more about the triggers and automation. I'm going to leave you with this because we're running out of time now, but I want to show you, if you go into the www.lockedon, whoops, put the wrong one, www.lockedon.tv, this will take you through to our YouTube channel. One of the newest things that we've launched in LockedOn is this, the triggers. I want you all to watch this. This is going to change your life with LockedOn. Triggers is all about automation and setting things to automatically happen in your system. It tells you how to install our trigger back, how to use the birthday trigger that automatically sends an SMS and email to anyone who has a birthday, how to use the property inspection trigger, which will send an email or SMS to anyone that has an inspection in your system. So there's beautiful follow-up to that. Anyone who clicks a certain button on an email, we can make an SMS go to them or a call pop up for our agent. Anyone who has an inquiry, this is how you automate your SMS and emails to every inquiry from REA or domain. And then some how to ignore the office settings. So I want you to go to lockedon.tv, watch the triggers. If you have any questions, contact us. But this is where LockedOn becomes automated for everyone and is by far the most powerful feature in our system. And it's something that we're going to be adding more and more triggers to every day. And we're launching a brand new trigger tomorrow, which is the open home automatic reminder to buyers on a property. So look out for the banner inside LockedOn when that happens. Guys, it's been a pleasure showing you around LockedOn today, going through the core functionalities of it and showing you some more advanced features. If you do have questions, please email through to support@lockedon.com. That's support@lockedon.com. And I look forward to catching up with you in future webinars. Remember, this webinar is on every Wednesday, first Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. You can register on the main screen, and the watch previous will take you through to our YouTube playlist of all the LockedOn version 2 movies. And we always put the recording of the webinar at the top. So you will see this appear this Friday, the one that we've just done, that you can come back and watch this. Thanks again, guys, and I look forward to chatting with you all very soon.